Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Astronomical Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Clint. Today, I wanted to talk about a few sport headlines and give a few Astros updates as we head into the weekend as they head on to Toronto to face the Blue Jays in a Friday, Saturday, Sunday 3 game series. So, the major headline, and it just dropped, was that Trevor Bauer was served a 324-game suspension for the sexual assault allegations that were placed on him a few years ago. I believe the MLB took a NFL approach to this situation and have been slow in delivering a suspension and letting a lot of the facts and a lot of the information come out, in regards to the case. I think that was cautious on their part, which I understand. It is a very sensitive, unfortunate situation, and I just hope that this suspension allows everyone to understand that the MLB is taking this seriously and taking a stand against these types of actions. No league, no professional sports league of any kind or any person should be condoning or accepting what transpired that day and what could transpire between people of this nature, with actions of this nature. So, I'm glad this is finally out, and I'm ready for uh for this to be served out, and hopefully the little bit more of a resolution on it, just due to the fact that it's been lingering for a while and some folks deserve justice in whatever way, shape, or form. So um yes, 324-game suspension for Trevor Bauer. I'm not sure of the effective start date, but I'm sure it's today, or maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Obviously, probably today, and it starts effective immediately. So the other sports line I want to get into, which is not Major League Baseball, was Baker Mayfield, and we understand he was not traded last night in the draft, and I don't believe that is a coincidence. He hasn't really popped as a number one overall pick a few years ago, and the Browns have clearly moved on. Clearly, obviously, after bringing Deshaun Watson in, but it just shows that they were done with this part of their history or part of their story as they look to bring a Super Bowl to Cleveland. And I don't think that Baker has much of a market, but it did come out today from a Twitter source that I follow that the Carolina Panthers have shown a little more interest today as compared to the past few weeks in Baker Mayfield, or perhaps they've shown interest all along. They're just playing the negotiation game that most teams try to play nowadays, which is, we're going to work this and drag this out as long as possible so that Cleveland can take care of some of the salary that is going to be due for him, and so that we're able to recoup that, and then obviously not pay such a high price in draft picks. So it's kind of similar situation to what San Francisco 49ers were doing with Debo Samuel. They wanted an outrageous price for a guy whose value has just been created by being a running back and a wide receiver in the same in the same games and in the same playbook. So I'm not going to. I don't believe he goes for much if he does, and obviously he will go for less if the Browns expect them to take on the entire salary. But obviously, that's not in the Carolina Panthers' best interest with Sam Darnold already there on his fifth-year option as well. So we'll see if anything comes of this. We'll see if he gets moved tonight. Seattle's still in play for that. But, you've got guys like Malik Willis and Desmond Ritter, some rookie quarterbacks that are in the draft in the second round that you would say this is the range that they would go. So at the end of the day, I'm just kind of excited to see what happens there. But I'm really looking forward to us being able to move away from the Baker Mayfield story, because there's really not much to it. He underperformed. The Cleveland Browns have decided winning is more important than anything else, and they believe that winning is going to resolve the move that they made and appease fans in the long term, which in some instances that very well could be the case. So, you know, TBD on Baker Mayfield's circumstances over the next few days. So, as far as Astros updates, I just wanted to share my screen here for a little bit. This is my personal Twitter account, but I was tagged along and reading and watching the dialogue between several of the folks that I know and that I talk to. Obviously, H Town Wheelhouse with I believe it's I have to click on it. I'm sorry. With the Locked On Astros podcast. I didn't want to get that wrong because I know he does it with Eric Hoisman, who I used to write with on Climbing Taos Hill, and he had another podcast as well. But he talks about the Astros a ton, and obviously they're Locked On Astros. But I just wanted to share some of this dialogue we were having about the catcher's position. I didn't really chime in just due to the fact that I I guess working a little bit and doing everything here and there. But I was just going to share my thoughts. I think they're really spot on in what we're looking for as far as catchers, and kind of the situation is really in play with the Astros just having a lot of things going on with the 40-man roster and a lot of decisions that are going to have to be made. But they've got Papirski and then obviously Corey Lee, who is our top rated prospect right now. And I have a clip up here from Astros Futures Twitter account of him hitting a monstrous home run over the left center field wall, developing that power that a lot of scouts would have said is not there in his game. But obviously, over time, when these guys get better and they get around some professional hitting coaches and they get the attention and the feedback that they need, they can start to generate the power that's necessary for them to compete at the major league level. So the roster size is going to change May 2nd. They got to go from 28 to 26. Rip Griffin, Larry the GM, and we all kind of talked about that in a Twitter space last night. I don't see anything changing catcher position wise. I believe they're leaning into Maldonado and Castro for the season due to the fact that they're veterans and, there's a leadership aspect that they are relying on from Martin Maldonado with these young pitchers. And they've been relying on it for several years now, but that's for a different time to talk about that. But I just wanted to shed some light. Corey Lee showed a little bit of sign of that pop and that power that we wanted from him. So it'll be interesting to see, how that develops over the course of the minor league season for him. So the next thing I want to talk about is obviously it came out yesterday, but Jose Altuve is going to start his rehab stint down at AAA with the Sugarland Space Cowboys and will be activated on Monday, which is obviously a huge boost for the Astros. He didn't get off to a very hot start. He came out pretty slow out of the gates, and maybe he just wasn't entirely healthy to start the season. I know he had that stumble at first base, and we believe it pulled the hammy, but maybe this is a good way to reset the mind, get everything ready to go so that he's able to come out and be more effective in the spots that we really need him to be. So I'm very excited to have him back, as most Astros fans are, and I'm sure the Astros lineup is too, to be able to slot in the 2017 American League MVP back in that lineup to support the offense. And lastly, I wanted to kind of give an update on Ryan Presley. We're kind of watching this play out, but he was throwing on the field over here at Rogers Center. So that's a good sign. Chandler Rome tweeted that out about an hour ago. I really do like being able to, I obviously really enjoy the fact that he's out throwing again. He does have a protective sleeve on his injured right knee, which will be interesting. Obviously, those types of things provide support for them and allow them to feel a little bit more comfortable about planning, or pushing off in this sense, since he's a right-handed pitcher, pushing off of that right leg and driving down the mound. We all kind of noticed Ryan Presley's velocity was down in spring training and even early in the season. So they're working through this. The Astros are not going to be 100% without him, and he's going to be a huge key to what the Astros are able to do this season. So I really wish him all the best, hoping that this injury is something that he recovers from fully and quickly, because the Astros surely could use him. And, we're just hoping for the best and wishing him the best as well. So that being said, I don't have much else in this video. We're going to see them play 3 games in Toronto. Toronto's looked very good. You know, they're in an interesting division because all those teams are very formidable, and they're gonna beat each other up throughout the year. It's kind of like the same thing with the NL West and the Dodgers and the Padres and the Giants, where it just becomes a slugfest between all those teams throughout the year. So, you know, everybody's been looking kind of down on how the Astros have played so far, but you know, it's very early. They're, you know, I think these past couple of years, April has not been their biggest friend, especially hasn't been Kyle Tucker's biggest friend, but that has started to change and turn around these past couple games. And I'm just really excited to see what's going to come, you know, in the month of May. You know, we're going to get past this series this weekend and hopefully get a series win and make sure that we come out of it healthy and ready to roll. You know, the team still looks good. I don't think that there's any concerns in the long run of what the offense is going to be able to do. I just think that a lot of it has just come down to, you know, untimely hitting and a little bit of bad luck. So that being said, I just wanted to thank everyone for listening, to coming out and giving me your time to kind of get a quick little recap on Astros updates and a few sports lines I'm looking at as we go into the weekend. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe on YouTube. The podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or you can just Google the Astronomical Sports Podcast, and it will take you to our home site on Anchor, where all the podcast episodes are distributed to those sites. So we do have a Twitter account at Astro Sports Pod. It's running down the banner on the stream screen right now. And um, you know, if you ever have a question, anything you'd like to bring up, if there's something you'd like us to talk about, I'm more than happy to obviously collaborate with you and do that so that we can cover it. I do have some friends that I do talk with and collaborate about some Astros topics. I write some articles for LarryTheGM.com, and Larry is a very insightful baseball fan, and he has a lot of great information to offer folks. So please, you know, hit him up on Twitter as well. You can find him on my page through retweets and quote tweets, replies, things like that. So that being said, thank you again for turning in. I know it was a short episode, just kind of a weekend update as we head into it, and I will see you in the next one.